didn't look like this. This was more like a big padded refrigerator. 160 pounds. And again, now we're a little bit skinnier and it's longer. What that's going to do is really change that angle. The shorter it is, you don't want to get over that 45-degree angle. It's going to be hard for the shorter guys to get underneath it and get a foot. If you're looking at guys like smaller athletes, they're able to get that up. But it's all about explosiveness on the ground, using their hips as much as possible, not using the small muscles in their arms. If underneath, right at top level, do it as like an Olympic clean, let it get way too much in the second to be stuck underneath it, like they did right there, and then launch that. Just try to get it just about line to go all the way to the other side.
Nick, you're in car trying to keep pace with Kevin Manuel, who's making very good work of this pig, one of the taller athletes. Look at the technique as he just drives that pig forward. Every extra inch that thing would slide once it turns over and make a very big difference at the end of this 100-foot pig flip.
A lot of these guys are able to whip it up and get that on over. What we haven't seen is yes, they're trying to get a little bit of a slide as it goes over, but some of the men's events, we actually saw them as it was going down, dropping their hands down the bottom, trying to get a little bit of push down the bottom, kind of get a couple more inches. That's one of the flip that they have to do.
Bill Heskett taking the lead over Kevin Manuel. Bill Heskett on the far right side of the screen in the orange shirt and blue shorts. Kevin Manuel second place just to the left of him in the mid part of the screen. Gray tank top and shorts. As Nick Urankar and Morgan Bull just to his right. Starting to have a little bit of trouble with his 560-pound pig.
I've been keeping my eye on Joe Scally because after I spoke to him after the spring goals hospital, he said he needed that performance. He's dealing with a little bit of discomfort in his arm, so he's a little bit concerned with the clean and jerk. I've been watching him so far looking at the pig, getting up to his shoulder mill drop, and as he gets it overhead, he's slowing down just a little bit, but no signs of that discomfort from his arm just yet.
The clean and jerk might be my least of worries when it's discovered in the arm because we have 4 rope climbs waiting for these men as Kevin Manuel in the middle part of your screen moves just ahead of Phil Heskett. So Manuel and Heskett, your top 2 early in event number 6 as we approach the 3-minute mark.
So this is what we're going to see. Did they properly use their hips to move this pig, or did they use their arms to do that in the involvement? Because it's a legless rope climb. Most of the time when we see legless rope climb, generally you're getting on your feet, you're not really using your arm. This is just zeroed in on your grip. That's what it all comes down to. And not only are you just tired, but when you get up at that 18-foot level and hanging there, thinking I need to take one more breath, or I'm not going to drop a little bit of beer by head.
For the first 2 reps of 4, the grip is challenged even more because the thickness of the rope is 2 inches thicker. Traditional rope that we get to use for most of our events that are in your affiliates is 1.5 inches. They brought out this thick rope last year, and the athletes always were talking about how hard it was to climb that rope with their feet.
Absolutely. And they were able to, they had to adjust how they locked their feet on the rope before. Now it's strict hands. I mean, this is going to be an absolute assault on their grip. But again, it's going to be what did they do on the pig? How much did they use their arms on the pig? How much did they have to flex their forearms? If you don't keep hold of it as they're going up and over, make that flip.
As the 4-minute mark is Julian Alcaraz is making his way up the rope for his first rope climb. Kevin Manuel is still holding your early lead. If you look at the top of your screen, Kevin Manuel is in blue. That means he is your heat leader. As Joe Scally is done with his second leg of rope climb. Kevin Manuel is moved to the second rope, so the rope is a little bit more thin. A little bit easier to navigate. Phil Heskett, who looking to his left, keeping his eye on Kevin Manuel. Working up low, finishing rep number 2. So most athletes onto the rig. The big bad rig in the middle. Appropriately named Zeus, Phil Heskett. One rope climb down, Joe Scally. Trying to on his comfort earlier. Kevin Manuel's working on his final ascent. He's got to touch the safety beam at the top. And then control that descent. There is a 9-foot marker on that rope that they cannot slide down or drop beforehand. And Kevin Manuel right past the 5-minute mark.
50. It's insane how fast, how easy the team made this look. I mean, we've seen the pig come out before, and it's just done damage pig was basically no problem. Getting through the legs rope climb was no problem. And I was working just only on the handstand walk.
Haskett is done with his final rope climb, trying to keep pace with Kevin Manuel. As these athletes have a 100-foot handstand walk to the finish line. There's two 50-foot sections. The handstand walk must be unbroken within those 50 feet. Roy Gamboa moving up alongside Joe Scally and Phil Heskett. Kevin Manuel, first CrossFit Games athlete out of New Zealand,
And now.
has 25 feet left to go. And if he can get to his nameplate on the right side of the soccer field, Kevin Manuel in heat number 1 is going to set the time to beat. Let's get both hands on the platform. Show control, and he is across the finish line. Kevin Manuel, 6:28.
That was great. He looked so solid through that entire, all three of the different elements of that event.
Phil Heskett currently in third place in this heat. Roy Gamboa has a slight edge. He is done with his first 50-foot section. As Phil Heskett is getting chased down by Chad Cole just to his right. Chad Cole in the opposite color jersey in the blue shirt, orange shorts. Roy Gamboa. A quick work of the pig in the beginning of this event. As we pass the 7-minute mark.
And he took a lot of rest. And what he was doing was watching the other competitors, see where they were, let them do some work with it right before they get to the handstand walk. Took his time so he's completely composed, because if he came down, he would be able to make that a great job. Super smart on his part.
Roy Gamboa finishing in a time of 7:19, good enough for second overall. Chad Cole will cross the finish line in third, as Phil Heskett, who is sitting in second for the majority of this heat. If he can get to his nameplate, that'll be good enough for fourth overall. This is just heat number 1 of 3, as event number 8 for the men is starting in this soccer stadium. Heskett pumped up that he got that second section.
Just like any other gymnastic movement that you'll see in the CrossFit Games or any of the other qualifiers, you have to know exactly what your body's able to take and how far you're able to push it. In gymnastic movements, if you push into the red or go a little bit too hard, then you're just going to fail. And these guys, when it's broken up in that 50-foot section, they can't fail. They have to go back. They don't want to have that happen.
Well, Alcaraz will finish his handstand walk, closing out event 8, heat number 1, in a time of 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Just in front of him was Steve Fawcett. Chad Melton out of the California regional, just a few steps away, and there's a stumble. Now, Bill, when you get that close, a foot or two away, he didn't just only have 48 feet in his shoulders. Is it that mental edge? You're so close, you kind of lose sight of what you're trying to do?
I think you may have just lost focus just a touch, trying to rush it a little bit. But I also feel that as you're falling backwards, if you're a foot away, you need to just drop your hands forward as much as you can. Because as long as your hands move forward before your feet touch, you're going to be okay. But you can see the frustration that was really setting in.
Nathan Bramlett will edge ahead of Chad Melton, so you can see these athletes. It's a little bit of a high risk, high reward if you start too soon with an opportunity to walk the entire 100. They don't need to come down at the 50-foot mark, but most athletes choosing to do so to save their shoulders. And Chad Melton, for the second time in a row, is just 5 feet short of that finishing mat.
And not only is this going to start messing with him mentally, but just physically. That's all that extra work that's going on into his shoulders right now, and that's going to make every single attempt from here on out that much harder.
Chad Melton, first time to the CrossFit Games out of the California Regional.
He really needs to put this out of his head. Take a breath, relax a second. Okay, he's resting, let himself rest, but not get frustrated.
We're approaching the 10-minute mark, and an unfamiliar sight for this particular athlete, Daniel Tominski, is stopped dead in his tracks, having an extreme amount of trouble flipping this pig.
Once again, we've been talking about the mental aspect of these events. Once you start to fail over and over again, you see the rest of the field start to leave you. It gets really tough to keep on going and to keep that mental fortitude. Is positive. I can do it. I can do it. He's moving way too slow. The fact that he's resting here, that time under tension, that's gonna hurt him.
Chad Melton, third has a charm, and he will get across the last 50-foot section to stop the clock at 10:35. As you have a couple athletes still stuck on the pig. And the last section of the handstand walk. And we'll keep in mind, this pig is 560 pounds. Jordan Cook having some trouble as well. It's like flipping a Fiat.
One nice thing though for Jordan, at least it is the single shaded lane of this entire thing, so he's going to be as hot, as sweaty as James Kaminsky, who's sitting out in the center of the field.
Jordan Cook, his second trip to the CrossFit Games out of the South Regional. Him and Dana Tominski in the background are tied as distance flipped. And Austin Maliolo having a discussion with his judge, and you can see the grip is absolutely fried.
That was a little hot coming down. That's one of the issues. When these athletes were briefed on how this was going to happen, it's hands, they touch the metal, then their legs can come down and actually, that help themselves down, but come down fast, it's going to burn some skin.
And heat number 1 of 3 is done as the 12-minute time cap is reached. And Kevin Manuel, the rookie out of New Zealand, set the bar high. 6:28, the time beat, as Kevin Manuel is first place in heat number 1.
And look at the way he just moved that straight off the ground. I mean, there wasn't any pause at all. He didn't make it look like 560 pounds was that big of a deal. Right through the rope, looking at it, gloves on his hands. I think that was real smart that way. If he had any sort of worry, if we're going to about going down, that's going to protect his hands. Using his feet to control his descent. But the handstand walks, broken up in that 750 was nice and cool, calm, collected, stay focused, and brought himself all the way through to the back.
Kevin Manuel, first race in heat number 1 is down with Mike Austin.
And you're very methodical as you approach this event. The pig, very heavy, looked fairly smooth for you. This was actually the first time you had an opportunity to get your hands on the pig. You didn't get to try out during warm-up. So what was your first thought as you lifted it for the first time?
I think my first thought was just to make sure that I get a good grip and just kind of feel it out. So I took my time with my first lift, made sure I got it up as high as I could, and just flipped it from there. And as it went on, you actually learn a little bit of where the weight is and what you need to do. So it was actually quite good we got to learn as you go on. And I wouldn't say it got easier, but it got, you kind of knew how to recover if you kind of missed a little bit. So it was quite good. I enjoyed that workout.
What does it mean to be a resident of New Zealand representing your country here at the CrossFit Games?
It's an incredible honour. When I qualified, it was a very, very humbling experience, and I've said to a lot of people, outside of my wedding day and the birth of my kids, and a couple of other things, this is one of the biggest events of my life, so I mean, it's an incredible honour to be here, being able to represent New Zealand.
Congratulations, thank you very much, Kevin Manuel, the leader so far in this event.
Your results in heat number 1, Kevin Manuel, time of 6:28.00. William Hogan in second place, followed by Chad Cole. As we have 2 more heats remaining for men's event number 8. Sean Williman with Bill Brewer. The second of 3 heats here in the soccer chipper. Lucas Parker in lane number 1. He'll be a man to watch here as he's a guy that likes to fool around with some odd objects in his training. Also keep an eye on lane 13, Elijah High.
2, 1.